Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mariela Salinas, and I'm a digital marketing specialist here at United Training. Welcome to today's webinar, 10 Soft Skills You Need in the New Year, presented by Valerie Taylor. We are using the GoToWebinar platform for today's session, and we will be sharing a copy of this recording with you after the webinar. We do encourage participation, so if you have any questions at all, please use the questions option in your GoToWebinar dashboard for our Q&A portion after the presentation. United Training is excited to present this webinar today. I'll now hand it over to you, Valerie.
Thank you so much, Ella. It's my pleasure to be here with everyone today. And because I have so much I want to share with you, we're going to dive right in. Having the technical skills and knowledge to successfully execute your job duties is only one part of being the best that you can be in the workplace. So in addition to hard skills, we also need to develop our soft skills. They allow us to work effectively with others, and soft skills are interpersonal necessarily, which means they can be applied in a broad array of situations. Soft skills encompass both our personality traits, such as optimism, and abilities which can be practiced, such as empathy. So, like all skills, soft skills can actually be learned. We'll be covering 10 soft skills today, and those are the ones that you see on the slide. Applying soft skills always start with developing our emotional intelligence. And by doing so, we can maximize our career prospects. The skills that we're considering today are directly transferable to any job, organization, or industry. As a result, they're an investment worth making. Empathy is the ability to identify with another person's experience, and it's the core component of emotional intelligence. When we demonstrate empathy, we create connections with others, which can help us build more successful teams in our workplace and otherwise support shared organizational goals. Now, emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize and manage our feelings so that they're expressed appropriately. There are four key elements to emotional intelligence. The first is self-awareness, and that's the ability to recognize our own feelings and motivations. The second component is self-management. That's the ability to appropriately express or not express our feelings. The third component is social awareness. That's our ability to recognize the feelings and needs of others and the norms of any given situation. And finally, emotional intelligence incorporates relationship management. That's our ability to relate effectively to others. Let's get into communication as one of our soft skills today. Now, communication is one of the most important soft skills because all of the soft skills discussed today are built on the ability to communicate clearly and professionally. Communication is more than just sending a message. It's also the ability to receive messages, listen actively, and hear what isn't being said. Now, human communication is complex. We communicate in many different ways. In fact, you see the 5 ways on your screen that we communicate. We communicate non-verbally. That's clearly communication without words and includes things like eye contact or posture or paralanguage or all of those. And by the way, paralanguage is those okays that become part of our nonverbal communication. We clearly know that we also communicate verbally. In other words, we use words, whether they're written or spoken. And remember that those words include tone, volume, and emphasis. We also communicate with our body through gestures, personal space that we create with others, and potentially touching. There are two other ways that human beings communicate, not as much in the workplace perhaps, but they're important components of how we communicate artistically and musically. Most of us have a preferred method of communication, but we typically use multiple methods in given circumstances. Studies show that up to 70% of our communication is nonverbal. Again, that's gestures, eye contact, posture, personal space, and all the other ways that we use our bodies to send messages. Studies built on that original study show that if a person's nonverbal communication and verbal communication don't match in terms of the message being sent, the listener is more likely to doubt what the sender of the message is saying. It becomes a trust issue. Improving your nonverbal communication starts with awareness. Pay attention to how you use your body when you're talking and when you're listening to someone. We're often not aware of our own nonverbal cues. An open stance, frequent but not continuous eye contact, nods, and a relaxed posture help to communicate that you're open and approachable and that you're communicating honestly. While a closed stance, folding your arms across your chest, staring at the floor, or refusing to make eye contact, all indicate that you're not listening or that you're not communicating openly. Take time to notice both your own nonverbal communication and others. The ability to receive messages is important, maybe more important than the ability to send a message. Listening is more than just hearing the words that someone is saying. It's a total way of receiving verbal and nonverbal messages, processing them, and communicating back to the speaker your understanding of what they've said. Be careful. Many of us listen in order to respond. We're formulating our next message while another person is still talking. Active listening is sometimes thrown around as a buzzword these days, but it's actually an extremely valuable soft skill to develop. Active listening is a form of listening where you listen to the speaker and you reflect back what you understand the speaker to have said. Active listening involves staying focused on the present, both by giving the speaker your full attention and by keeping the discussion to the issue at hand. You'll reflect back to the speaker what you understand him or her to have said by carefully rephrasing the message. It might sound something like this. So I hear you saying that. You must always check for understanding using I statements rather than you statements. Let's take a nibble on our next soft skill topic, teamwork. Even if you work independently most of the time, inevitably you must work with others. Finding ways to build teams that accomplish what needs to be done in the most efficient and accurate manner is often challenging, especially when bringing together team members with diverse sets of hard and soft skills. There are some basic techniques you can use when building or working with a team to help create a cohesive unit that leverages everyone's talents and ensures that each person contributes. It starts with identifying capabilities. When you're building a team, it's key to identify the different talents and skills and capabilities that each team member brings. When you build or join a team, take the time at the outset to ask each team member what he or she brings to the team. What skills, abilities, and relationships does each team member have that can enhance the project? What does each person on the team feel they do well? How can the team use all these talents and capabilities to achieve the best outcome? When you're given a role on a team, it's important to get into it. Be sure you know what's expected of you and what you can expect from others. Even if the role is a new one or perhaps a stretch for you, it's key to step into it. This means stepping out of others' roles, even if they're roles you've played before. Your communication skills to create open and honest dialogues with other team members become essential when you're in a group setting. You want to make sure everyone's on the same page. Be clear about where your role begins and ends, and be willing to assert those boundaries. Again, teamwork can be challenging in the best of circumstances, but it's even more so when roles are unclear. A key step in creating a team is clearly outlining what each person's role is and is not. Let's move on next to problem solving. No matter what your industry or your role at your company, problem solving is part of your job. Whether the problems you encounter are big or small, think about it. You solve problems every day. Learning how to apply problem-solving skills helps not only to enhance productivity, but it also helps to cultivate relationships by focusing on shared goals and solutions. You can't solve a problem if you don't know what it is. The first step in solving any problem should be to define the problem itself. Oftentimes, what we think is a problem is only a symptom of a larger issue. Take time to define the problem clearly, whether it's an interpersonal conflict, which is often a symptom, or perhaps a company culture that doesn't support team achievement, but only individual achievement. That's a larger issue. Move forward with solutions that will actually solve the problem rather than just resolve the symptoms or temporarily stop the chaos. We know that is Band-Aid approaches. Remember, taking the time to define the problem is especially important if emotions are running high or interactions are getting heated. Once you've defined a problem, you can move on to solutions. It's important not to just choose the first solution that presents itself, nor should you push your own preferred solution to the exclusion of others. The process for generating alternative solutions looks like this: brainstorming, taking the time to generate alternative solutions, asking others involved what ideas they have for solving the problem, and applying active listening and clear communication throughout the brainstorming process. The next step is evaluation. Discuss the ways in which the alternative solutions might play out, problems the solutions might encounter, and how any obstacles can be overcome. Be sure during the evaluation stage to consider your resources: people, time, materials, funding. And then it's important to create a workable plan. Communication and teamwork are vital here. People must feel as though they're part of the solution if you want them to buy into it. Let's shift gears once again and consider some thoughts about time management. Now, Warren Buffett, Oprah Winfrey, even your next door neighbor doesn't have one more minute in a day than you do. We all have 1,440 minutes in a day. So, why is it that some people seem to get so much more done? The ability to effectively manage your time is key to productivity. You may not be able to create more time in your day, but applying time management skills can help you make the most of the time that you do have. I have some steps for you to consider when planning your day because a plan is the most important priority of your day. Just remember, a poor plan can be as detrimental as no plan. So I'm going to suggest these steps. Set aside 15 minutes every day to plan. It might be in the morning, it might be in the afternoon. Write down all the tasks that you need to accomplish. And don't forget, perhaps some of those tasks can be delegated. Once you have your task list identified, prioritize them. Use a ranking system of some type, 1, 2, 3, ABC, or even an urgent versus important matrix. Also, correspond each of the tasks that you need to accomplish with your own personal productivity cycles. That means maybe you're more productive in the morning, maybe you're more productive in the afternoon, perhaps you're more productive on Monday, perhaps you're more productive on Friday. You'll also want to estimate how long each task will take you. This can take practice, some fits and starts, but being accurate with estimating how long a task will take will greatly contribute to your plan. And then finally, assign a time of the day to do each of your tasks. Be careful. Some people like to get the easy stuff done first because they're procrastinating on the tougher stuff. Some people, however, do need to start with a few easy tasks, kind of like ramping up to get ready for the more challenging tasks. Before we leave the topic of time management, I do want to give a bit of attention to multitasking. It's exactly what it sounds like, trying to do more than one thing at a time. And many of us multitask throughout our days. We're listening to a colleague while we're checking our email. We're working on a document while we're talking on the phone. We have the idea that we get more done when we multitask, or that this is the best way to maximize our time. But interestingly enough, recent studies show that 30 to 40% more time is spent when you multitask rather than when you monotask. Multitasking also means that your attention is divided, and that can lead to miscommunications and errors. Multitasking can also damage relationships because it conveys that we're not really interested in what another person is saying. Now, I get it. It's a difficult habit to break, but breaking the habit of multitasking is key if we're going to become better time managers. Our next topic for discussion is attitude and work ethic. Creating a positive attitude is one of the best things you can do for your productivity and your workplace satisfaction. Who doesn't want that? People who have a consistently positive attitude are seen as approachable and can build more effective workplace relationships. Positive attitude also serves you well when you're faced with challenges or setbacks. It breeds resilience. And a solid work ethic also helps you find reward in the work that you do. And it shows dedication, not just to goals and outcomes, but to your overall professional development. Being clear about what you're working for is a key part of building a positive attitude and a strong work ethic. If you're not sure what you're working for, it can be difficult or even impossible to fully invest in a project or in developing your skills. Take time to clarify what your personal goals are, both in terms of specific projects you may be working on and in terms of your overall career. Set specific goals and then create plans to achieve them. Tie these goals to your day-to-day tasks and responsibilities so you can keep making progress. When we come to realize that we have shared goals with those we work with, we can find a way to both care for ourselves and care for others. By taking good care of ourselves, we become the best colleague we can be, which demonstrates we care for others. Seeing the ways in which everyone is interconnected and the way in which everyone's success benefits the entire group is an important attitude shift. Our next nibble involves adaptability and flexibility. Some people mistakenly think that the ability to change according to the needs of a situation or a willingness to compromise shows weakness or a lack of conviction. In reality, the ability to compromise, change in response to changing situations and changing needs, and to thrive in a fast-paced workplace is key to success. Now, I get it. Change can be scary, but learning to adapt and flex as needed is essential to personal and professional growth. Many people fall prey to the good old days syndrome. When we look back at the past and believe that everything was better, this can pose a serious obstacle to our ability to change. If we're convinced that the good old days were best, we're unlikely to give a new way of doing things a fair try. When you find yourself thinking back to those good old days, give yourself a reality check. Ask yourself if things were really as good as you think you remember. Try to recall obstacles, problems, or difficulties you had with the thing you remember as being so good. One of the most common situations in which we'll need to change, flex, and adapt is when processes change. In order to navigate new processes and to help others do the same, we need to change not only what we do, but how we approach it. New technology, globalizing businesses, pandemics, and changing needs all lead to changes in our work processes. If we hold on to the old way of doing things, we risk reduced productivity and revenue, as well as noticing an increase in conflict and other challenges. Oh, I forgot to give you my other typical quote for good old days syndrome. And I'm so sorry, I was not looking at the right screen. There we go. Let's have a short discussion around self-confidence. One of the best things you can do to ensure your success is to build and learn to show self-confidence. Now, let's be clear. Self-confidence is not being egotistical or acting like you're better than others. Self confidence is simply the belief that you know what to do and how to do it, that you're good at what you do, and that you can handle whatever comes your way. Demonstrating self confidence helps to engender trust in you and demonstrates that you're skilled and adaptable. So, what does it mean to be confident? Studies show that confident people share many of the same traits, even across cultures and industries. Cultivating the traits you already have and developing those that you don't yet have will build your overall self confidence. And remember, self confidence is about building yourself up, not tearing others down. When you're confident, you make others around you feel confident too. You'll see here on the slide some traits of confident people. Take just a moment and look through these. Our next topic is the ability to learn from criticism. No one likes criticism except maybe LeBron, according to his quote here. But the ability to learn from it's important to professional and personal development. The ability to listen to and accept criticism is also a key component of self confidence. Now, learning from criticism shows that you value what others have to say, and it helps develop a sense that you're committed to what you do and to your own growth. I just noticed that we're getting a bit short on time. Let me do this. I am going to jump to just a few thoughts about networking, and I want to allow some time for you guys to ask questions. The final topic in the 10 skills is indeed networking. And the idea behind networking is that it should be intentional, helping you to create connections, which can expand your circle of learning and support. When many people think of networking, they think of what you can get from others. But I would suggest that you shift that mindset to considering what you can give in networking relationships. When you do this, it's an everybody wins situation. We've covered a ton of material today. I do want to really reinforce with you that the topics we've covered today are covered in a class that we call 10 Soft Skills You Need. Obviously, fleshed out much more with lots of participation from students. I hope you've enjoyed this little taste I've given you of this particular class. I also want to mention that many of the topics here are standalone full day classes as well. Communication strategies, effective time management, teamwork and team building, critical thinking, just to name a few. I do have good news for you. You can save close to 50% with bundled pricing of these classes for your entire team. Think about it. With this option, you can strengthen your leadership team and improve workplace fundamental skills for your staff while saving thousands of dollars. You just choose your total number of training days and distribute those to your team as you wish. The more days you choose, the more you'll save. Ella, we have just a few moments for questions. Anything we need to cover before we wrap things up?
Absolutely. We have one question here, and if there are any more in the chat later, we can definitely answer those. But this one we have right here asks, if I am screening potential employees, should I ask them about their soft skills, and how would I go about that?
Absolutely. And that is definitely a topic for a much longer discussion. There is actually a technique in interviewing called the STAR method, where you're asking someone to identify a situation that they dealt with previously and then walk through steps of how they handled it. As your interviewee is describing that, you're looking for the soft skills that were applied in order to solve or resolve the situation that they had brought up during the interview. And that's something we do cover in several of our classes, this STAR technique of sharing information with other people.
Perfect. And it looks like you got to the point because we have a bunch of just great presentations and all of that. So thank you so much, Valerie. This was a lot of amazing information. And again, we will be sharing the recording with all of our lovely attendees in an email after the webinar. So thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Happy 2022.
Happy 2022.